evening, everyone. I'm your co-host, the Jimmy Stewart, most fascinating man in the universe.
And I'm your co-host, TD3 Jimmy. It is Wednesday, June the 18th, 2025. And if it is Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. So let's give a shout out to Count Basie for providing our theme music, to our own studio and Forest Films for subsidizing our virtual studio. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you're here watching the show live, invite a friend, co-worker, family member, so you have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. And with that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, which is bring the leading edge information about the Black community to social media.
all right, folks, we want to thank you for joining us this evening. And of course, make sure that you subscribe to our show, share this information, and of course, like this show so that you too can be the smartest person in your
Always
network.
want to be the smartest person in the room, Tom, as long
Exactly.
as I'm not there.
We have a jam-packed show tonight, and we'll be starting out this evening with a special guest that we actually had a conversation with a couple of weeks ago, the Dr. Ed Gray, who came to us to talk about a memorial that had been erected on behalf of one of our ancestors in a tragic situation. But we said we would make sure that we would bring him back into the fray once we got an update on what happened recently in downtown Dallas. So, folks, we would like to introduce to you historian, author, just man extraordinaire, brother Dr. Ed Gray. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, brothers. How are you?
Everything is going great, man. We appreciate you making a couple of minutes for us to kind of give us an update on a story that we talked about just a couple of weeks ago with the memorial that you have been involved with, and to talk a little bit more about the organization that is connected to that. We, of course, had talked about the Allen Brooks Memorial that was cut down just a few weeks ago, and we talked a little bit over phone via audio, and wanted to make sure we got you back in so we could talk a little bit about where that is now, what direction we're going in, and of course, what we need to do, because that is what we do.
Okay, Tom, you said cut down. That sounds very clean and nice. It was vandalized. Let's just see what it was, man. We don't
Okay.
have to, we don't have to be PC on this channel.
All right.
It was vandalized and torn down destructively, not just nice, neatly cut down. So
You
go
are
ahead,
correct.
Ed. I'm sorry.
Well, that's about right. It was vandalized, and as you know, we still have people calling in right now protesting it being vandalized. So that being said, we like to thank all of those people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for their support of the Dallas County Justice Initiative, which is a new organization. In the last 5 years, we've put up various historical markers throughout the city of Dallas regarding individuals that were lynched in the city of Dallas. And this lynching had occurred on the corner of Main and Akron, and the historical marker was vandalized. It was just ripped apart, and meaning we, the city of Dallas, found the historical marker about 30 feet away from where it originally stood. But good news, good news. The marker was found, and the City of Dallas Parks Department has put it upon themselves, along with the pushing of individuals such as this organization and also your podcast as well, in making sure that history is not whitewashed, so to speak. And we've had a temporary historical marker replaced. We have a historical marker will be reinstalled on September 27th at the same said site.
Ed, can you give us an update on, has there been any information from the police department with checking the video to see if there's anything there? Were they able to capture anything?
They're still investigating it. They've had talked to several businesses in the area, and those businesses, it seems like everyone has a Ring camera these days. So
Uh-huh.
they're doing investigation of that to determine what they have found on the Ring camera that they had, or the various whatever type cameras that they have.
Okay. So do you feel comfortable that they're doing enough, or they're doing something at all, or are they just brushing this under the rug to just say we're doing something and hoping everybody forget about it in a few months?
I feel what they've done so far has been respond to our pushes.
Okay,
It's like anything else in America. If you don't, it's like delivering mail. In order to deliver the mail, you have to push the envelope, and that is something that we have done. We've pushed the envelope. I know that I've made sure that my political contacts know that I just can't take a, a no for an answer or maybe for an answer. I need a yes for an answer,
there you go.
and that's where we're on that.
Let me ask you this: if we look at our monuments and our landmarks, and obviously we are in a stage politically where a lot of monuments that were erected on behalf of a lot of our ancestors, Jackie Robinson, Medgar Evers, and that obviously at a federal level, but at a local level, are not being taken seriously or that are being removed altogether, but localizing it back down. What as a community do we need to do to make sure that our voices are heard and that we're able to protect the legacy that our ancestors built for us, whether that be Alan Brooks and or others?
We need to do what you're doing. This so far has been the only organization, the only Black organization that has come to me and said, "Hey, what can we do?" And this is something that we need to do. Only Black history can be saved by Black people.
I
It
agree,
can't
man.
be
Tell them,
by.
Ed, preach.
So therefore, that's what we need to do. We need to do. If we don't care about our own history, no one else has a desire to care or even give us lip service. A good example of that is the reckoning. 5 years ago, I remember seeing commercials on TV where they said we've had this great reckoning regarding George Floyd. That was 5 years ago, and now today they're taking, DEI. They're taking it out of everything. So, that's how quick things change in America, and that's how we need to be vigilant to make sure that it stays it stays correct.
You know, Ed, Dr. Gray, after the your last appearance on the show, I actually went out and did some searches just in Dallas, not for the state of Texas, not in the U.S., just for the city. I never realized how many lynchings there were in the city of Dallas. Um,
Correct. Correct.
and and then the other thing was there was a controversy on the numbers because a lot of people denying that a lot of these folks were even lynched. It's like, okay, the person's hung from a tree. How do you deny that was a lynching? So there's even controversy on how many, but even the number that we can all agree to, no matter what side you line up on, is way too many. You can almost put a plaque on every corner in Dallas with the number of people that were lynched. Never knew it was so many, and unfortunately, a lot are not brought to the attention. We don't bring it to the attention, but there, for every one that we know of, there's at least hundreds, if not thousands, that we don't know of.
That's correct.
Well, Jimmy, I mean, whether we want to say it or not, that's part of the history that the United States of America would like to conveniently forget, sanitize, or to blot out of the history books. But it's very important. There are certain cultures, there are certain groups that have come to the table in making sure, for instance, that what has happened to them is never forgotten. But for whatever reason, our community is told that, that happened a long time ago. We need to get over that and move on.
Well, Tom, the move on piece, I don't agree with. We have to study and retain our history. We've talked about this before, and I understand other groups, non-black folks, want to whitewash this the best they can, move on. They figure that was a long time ago. They weren't involved with it. They don't want to be guilted or made to be responsible for it. But that's not the issue. I mean, they are just doing what they have to do to for themselves. We have to take responsibility for our history. Dr. Gray was correct. If we don't retain it, we don't pass it on, we don't study it, we don't memorialize it, then it will be whitewashed by other people. And we can't blame them for doing what they have to do to feel good about themselves. We just have to retain our history and use it not as a hate piece, but to motivate us to never let it happen again. So, like the old saying goes, he who does not understand history is doomed to repeat it. And we've had so much of our history repeated, it's a shame. So we have to step up and take ownership of this. So Dr. Gray is absolutely correct. We've talked about this before on the show, and we have to step up to the plate time because education starts at home with us, not with the schools.
So what is next on this mission, Dr. Gray?
On this mission is that we're going to do a reinstall on September 27th.
Okay.
And so I'm turning my attentions to the city of Grand Prairie as well, where there was a lynching that occurred outside of the city limits of Grand Prairie at that time. It was located in a rural area of Dallas County called The Line. The Line. It's no longer an existing community. You probably drove past it several times and didn't know that Black people lived there. But today it's called Mountain Creek Lake. That used to be the Mountain Creek Lake used to be a Black community, but it's all submerged. It's underwater now. But the area that's adjacent to Mountain Creek Lake, there was a lynching that occurred there in The Line, which is located in the city limit.
I didn't know that was a Black community, but I do know because I worked at TXU. They built that lake out there next to the power plant.
Right. That used to be.
But I did not know that there was a Black community before. But I guess that makes sense now looking at it because you have the VA cemetery over there and you have the lake over there.
Correct. And then I'm also turning my attention to Rockwall, Texas as well.
Okay.
Rockwall, Texas, there was a lynching that occurred in Rockwall, Texas, in the city square, in which a Black man was burned alive.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Gray. Is it possible we can get a few minutes of video from the celebrating the show in the play on the show?
Sure.
Okay. Well, September is a little while away, but we'll work the details out on how to get that from you. And we'll, if you just give us a raw feed, we can do the edits ourselves and make it show ready. But that's something we probably need to play and advertise and show what's being done because most people probably don't know the work that you guys do, but the work that you do is important.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I know you didn't because the first time we talked about aluminum signs, you thought it was like aluminum cans.
Yes, I did. I was like, man, what is this?
I said,
we need some bronze, some steel, something that's hard to tear up. In fact, I thought maybe it was even wood.
Yeah. Well, see, most signs are made out of a combination of aluminum and steel. So those are street signs. So street signs are made just like that. So
okay.
Yeah.
That looks pretty nice.
But I'm glad I was there because when you said, I said, man, there ain't no aluminum. It's like aluminum. Man.
Tell us, while we still have a couple of minutes, a little bit about Remember Dallas Black and other affiliate organizations that are in the cause of restoring our memories of our history and what they're doing, and then we can close out with what we should do next as a community.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Remembering Black Dallas is the sister organization of the Dallas County Justice Initiative. The Dallas County Justice Initiative is an offshoot of Remembering Black Dallas. Our main task force was to make sure that we concentrated on the lynching sites that occurred. Remembering Black Dallas is a broader mission statement in which we talk about history that has existed in the city of Dallas. In addition to the lynching sites, we also do tours throughout the city of Dallas as well. We just completed a tour this past week in which we did a tour of the 10th Street District, which was another Freedmanstown area as well. And we're looking at doing some other tours as well, such as the tours of towns that most people don't realize that were Black towns, such as Alpha, Texas. If you ever been to the Galleria shopping mall, that used to be a black community as well.
The Galleria.
Yep, the Galleria Shopping Center. If you ever heard of Alpha Road
Yes.
is named
Yeah,
after.
Alpha Road, right over there by the Galleria. It goes from the tollway. I think it may stretch to Montfort,
Correct.
or to maybe even the 75 itself. But yeah, Alpha Road.
Alpha Road is named after a black community. So imagine these things that we don't know. And we're also putting up a historical marker for Keller Springs. Keller Springs is named after Henry Keller, a black man. Keller Springs is named after Henry Keller, a black man who lived in the area, who owned a great deal of property in that area. So these are the things that we're putting up as well, so people can realize that black history isn't just relegated to South Dallas.
You know, there's so many of these stories, Dr. Gray. I think Tom and I were just talking about Central Park in New York was black owned.
Correct.
Property that's worth billions of dollars now, taken away. And this has happened not just here, but throughout America, probably every place. The amount of land that's been confiscated and taken away from black folks and redeveloped, probably worth trillions of dollars now.
Correct.
And none of that world was passed on to us. Just our property taken, either eminent domain or just from brute force, where people are just forced to sign over their properties and leave for nothing.
Correct.
The banks found a way to take their land from them by foreclosing on them. But needless to say, a lot of trillions of dollars in wealth have been stolen from us, which we're not going to get back. But we do need to be aware that it has happened to make sure as we go forward and rebuild wealth that we don't let it happen again. We need to stop selling our land for beads.
Correct. You're right. And in addition to that, I had already mentioned Mountain Creek Lake, also the 10th Street District. In the construction of Interstate 35, a lot of black homes were taken with that as well. When we're driving down I-35 going from downtown Dallas to Marsalis, there's a swath of land that was taken away from black people as well. We never got that back either. So these are the things that we deal with. If you name any kind of high construction project dealing with a freeway, it normally goes through
Yep,
the community.
that is true.
Just like what happened, of course, with Tulsa many years ago as well.
Correct.
All right, good deal. Why don't we do this? How can we, for those who are listening now and in the future, support Remember Black Dallas, and then we'll wrap up from there.
Go to the website, check out the website, go ahead and contribute to the website, because as we do these things, lobbying takes time and money, and no one's getting any rich off of this at all. I just want to go ahead and state that, but nothing exists in a vacuum unless some money's in exchange. So we need to go ahead and do that, but we also need new members as well. New members, as we are getting up in age now. I'm 63 years old, and I'm looking at this situation there. It just seems like it was a couple of years back, I used to watch Speedy Duncan there. That was his nickname when he played football.
Yeah, long time ago.
Football, Speedy Duncan. It just seemed like it was yesterday. I was watching him run for touchdowns and everything. But now we have to have a new generation of people that are going forward and contributing to our society and making sure that people never forget.
Well, Ed, you look slightly better than me, so you're doing good.
Well, I'm trying, but you more intelligent than me. You just
well, that is true. But I wish the rest of the body would keep up with the brain.
Gotcha. Well, hey, we appreciate you sharing this information with us. Of course, we'll have you back pretty soon. And
I've also shared this show on my social media sites as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I haven't watched your show in the last month, and I apologize for that because a lot of times I'll get up on Saturday to watch, listen at least. I just kind of been busy trying to get a mobile kitchen set up and built. My contractor's not agreeing with me, so
there's always backsliders, but the church is always open.
So once I get back my normal life, I'll get back to listening to your show. But you have a great show. You have great guests come on there. So I like your format. So yeah, you do a great job. Everybody out there, check out the commish on Saturdays.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Until next time, Brother Gray, we'll see you, and thanks a lot for the work.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
All right, folks. So we are back. I want to thank Brother Gray, Brother Dr. Gray, for joining us again and sharing his insight on that. We have cousin Audrey K, who's on the chat line. I want to thank her for joining us this evening. We have Brother Frederick V. Roberts, Esquire, on the line as well. I want to thank him for joining us as well. Now we have to get to the story. We are jam-packed, and so we will be swift but informative. We'll talk about a couple of business and economy news. We have a couple of interesting storylines, and then we will talk sports on the back end, Jimmy. So just to keep our folks knowledgeable in terms of the hot stories, in terms of what's going on with the economy, and then, of course, some fun stuff as well. Of course, the Fed met today, Jimmy. I'm pretty sure that you were aware of this. Jerome Powell said that the Fed was going to hold interest rates steady, no change for the fourth consecutive time, maintaining a Fed funds rate within about 4.25 to 4.5%. Though the decision was unanimous, there was a split among future cuts, some anticipating that there may be up to 2 cuts before the end of the year, Jimmy, and some saying possibly no cuts. So we know that
Powell's trying to get fired.
Somebody was trying to fire him, but they found out he couldn't fire him.
His boss wants those rates cut to make money cheaper, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I know the Feds are generally concerned about inflation, but if you can't afford to borrow money, it doesn't matter how cheap things are. If inflation actually goes down, it'll just mean it's a slowdown on the increase. Doesn't mean that prices actually drop unless you get some negative inflation for a longer period of time. But I agree that the prime rate need to come down. They probably should have went on and improved the quarter cut to just help keep giving a jolt to the economy and keep it going along. So you got some good signs, but you don't want that to stall. You want to keep it encouraging by having slow quarterly, maybe at least 2 a year, something to give the economy a little bit of jolt, let people know, the markets know that long term your goal is to bring interest rates down.
Well, we'll definitely see what happens in the second half of the year. Actually, the economy looked like it was primed to go up this year, of course, at the beginning of the year. But, policy gets in the way sometimes. So it's just been kind of going back and forth. So we will definitely see what happens. Next in our business and economy news, something very interesting that I found just today. The United States Social Security program is on track to potentially become insolvent by 2034, when the federal government program may be required to cut monthly benefits by up to 20%.
No cuts, Tom. We're not going for the cuts.
The new projection issued today in the Social Security Board of Trustees annual report is partially due to increased costs from Social Security Fairness Act, which increased benefits for millions of retirees. Last year's report forecasted the program would need to be cut by 2035. Now they're saying potentially by 2034, which would impact 70 million beneficiaries. The Social Security program has been in financial strain for some years, although the trust fund's depletion date can change from year to year due to fluctuations with the economy. The trust fund is slated to be depleted partly due to the wave of baby boomers that have been retiring in droves and an aging U.S. population overall, therefore increasing the number of beneficiaries. Even if the trust fund is depleted, which may not occur if Congress makes changes in how the program is funded, benefits wouldn't suddenly disappear. They would just come down. Otherwise, they would cut the amount of Social Security.
Yeah, there's not going to be any cuts, Tom. It won't even be a slowdown in the increases that are adjusted for inflation. So since I can remember, going back to my teenage years, we've been given these threats of Social Security going insolvent. Every damn administration, every other administration, and it's just that, Tom, just a threat. So here's what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
those Gen Alphas and Gen Betas and maybe even the Zetas are going to get their ass to work and start pouring into the fund. Because here's what I know. I poured into the fund. I did my part. I paid into it. I expect that I want to get every dollar that I'm due out of the fund, even if that means they pay out more than I put in. I didn't make the rules. I played by the rules. So I'm not going to go for a cut. I'm not even going to go for a reduction, cost of living reduction for inflation. I want what I'm entitled to. All of the people my age and my generation are entitled to get what they deserve.
Well,
You Gen Alphas out there, your next generation coming up, take your asses to work.
good luck with that, Jimmy, because with all of these younger folks, of course, making their money being an influencer and or looking at alternative ways of making money, some legal, some not. So, Jimmy, it's going to be very interesting to see what that looks like because,
Tom,
quite frankly, wait a sec now, because think about it. They saw what some of their parents and grandparents went through after giving their life, sweat, blood, and tears to corporations just to get axed. At the end of the day. So it's going to be an interesting soliloquy. And again, the boomers, I think from a generational perspective, are the largest generation in terms of sheer volume. So I guess this was to be expected and it was a long time coming. But at the end of the day, a lot of these younger generations are staying at home longer. They're not working and putting into the trust fund as we did, Jimmy. So it's a little bit of a different mathematics on this one.
Okay, Tom, at some point they're going to take their butts to work, and we just simply have to tax the things that they're interested in. So if they want to be smoking hemp and taking it and putting it under their tongue, we'll just levy a tax against the things that the younger generation enjoy. If you're going to live at home, we need to have a live at home tax. If your parents want to pay the live at home tax, so you can lay up and not work, okay, fine. But one way or the other, Tom, we're going to get creative, and someone's got to pay. And it won't be me. I guarantee you, and it won't be my generation. So the next generation behind us and the ones even behind them need to get ready, prepare, do what we did, which is take your butt to work and pay into the fund to keep it going. If not, you're going to force Congress to have to tax everything under the sun to keep it solvent. But one way or the other, Social Security fund will stay solvent. There won't be any cuts. There never have been any cuts. There hasn't even been a slowdown in the rate of increases. And I don't expect that to happen in 2034 either. So this is just a scare tactic to start getting everyone's attention. But trust me, they'll find a way to keep the fund solvent.
Well, it'll be interesting because a lot of these jobs, traditional jobs, are going to be replaced by AI. They're going to be replaced by
robots. They will.
You got taxi drivers that are being replaced by robo-taxis, Jimmy. So if the jobs ain't there, how are they going to contribute to the Social Security program?
Because AI, at one point, I'm not sure when, I can go research. At one point, the Supreme Court declared that corporations were individuals and had a vested interest in politics and had some rights that a person had, except maybe voting. But they could raise money, they could be PACs, they could try to influence elections if it meant protecting their own interest. At some point, AI is going to pay a tax also. We'll have to file a tax return.
How is AI going to pay a tax and it's owned by the corporation?
If you're going to you're working. If you're going to put me out of a job or take the place of a call center and replace it with AI, then that was hundreds of people answering those phones.
Correct.
And now AI is answering the phones. Well, AI just needs to pay the income tax of 100 people.
AI is a technology that is typically going to be owned by a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Yes, it will be. So we will assess.
That already has its ways of minimizing its taxes.
So, Tom, we will assess the jobs that were lost through the AI, how many people that was, and what those people would have made and paid in taxes. Now, you don't have to pay AI, so you have to pay the tax that would have been collected on the jobs if AI hadn't stepped in. So, and if they can't figure it out, give me a call. I'll be glad to come in and do the forensic audit and calculate it for you. But all these companies don't get a chance to move jobs to AI. It's like going overseas. You don't offshore jobs and then sell your product back in America. You're not going to offshore to AI and somehow keep your product and service in America and not pay taxes. You're going to pay a tax. Eventually, smart people are going to figure this out. The AI is going to pay an income tax.
AI is not a person, Jimmy.
Hey, Tom, if corporations are people, according to the Supreme Court,
It is an entity, but as you and I both know, these multi-billion-dollar corporations spend a lot of money in lobbying to make sure that they
they do,
minimize.
Tom, but they're going to lose on this one, I guarantee you. At some point, there's going to be a compromise because the country is running out of money. You
Yeah,
can't pay down $35 trillion in debt and keep Social Security solvent
and
and
that
pay
debt
for all
keeps
the
going up.
social spending that we've incurred, borrowing $6 trillion a year or $4 trillion a year. We can't keep all that going, Tom. Something has to give. So if people are not working, living in mama's basement, don't want to work, and sit there smoking hemp all day, okay, fine. AI is going to pay a tax for the jobs that they're taking over. The robots are going to pay a tax, and then mom and them are going to have to pay a tax called the live in my basement tax for the trifling kids who don't want to get out there and work. Either
Well,
way, somebody's going to have to pay.
well, it'll be interesting, Jimmy, because the wealthy are giving a lot wealthier, and the middle class and the working class are getting a lot poorer. So we'll see how this works.
Okay, well, I'll put it out there in the universe. All the politicians have to do is listen or give me a call.
All right, let's go to our next story. This was for the state of Texas. Texas, we've actually talked about this a few times before, but Texas lawmakers recently passed another set of bills making it easier for gun owners to access and keep firearms, expanding the weapons that they can therefore access. Firearms are the leading cause of death among children in the United States, passing car accidents, cancer, and overdoses. The bills passed that are waiting for approval by Governor Greg Abbott represent a continued effort to make gun ownership easier for residents. Bill 1362 aims to prevent extreme risk protection orders in civil cases from being used to confiscate guns from people. Senate Bill 1596 would allow short barrel shotguns to be legal in Texas without registration with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Senate Bill 3053 bans any city or county from participating in programs aiming to remove firearms from circulation or reduce the number of firearms owned by civilians. So ultimately, what it looks like, we got a ton of guns, and there's going to be more guns in Texas.
Yes, which I'm okay with that. Once again, I don't think there's a correlation in Texas with the number of deaths from guns for kids. So hopefully people are responsible, get gun safes, keep the guns locked up and protected, or get the locks put on the
You
guns.
see no correlation between the number of guns and the number of children are dying, which is the
Well, you gave a
one.
national reference, Tom. I'm talking about the state of Texas.
Right.
So I don't think this has been such a severe problem in the state of Texas. But here's what I do know. There are a lot of cases that we don't talk about here, but there are a lot of cases where people have been able to protect their property, protect their bodies and interests by having a weapon on them where they can fight back. So arming people to protect your castle, which is your home, protect your body, your family, should not be such a controversial thing. Every man should have a right to defend his castle and his family. So if you need a short barrel shotgun to do that, more power to you. So next time somebody knocks on your door and there's a kick your door in from a home invasion, I don't have a problem with you filling out a shotgun, short barrel shotgun, long pistol, a long rifle, or maybe you have a musket in there or a bazooka. Whatever you have to do to protect your castle and your family, do it.
Unfortunately, in this case, usually when we're talking about the death of children or the death of other people that are at high risk, usually that's not defending their homes out the street. Sometimes people who should or maybe shouldn't, have a gun, have it. And again, the Uvalde case, a couple of years ago, and or other high profile cases where you have people, some legally, some not so legally, access to guns. It gets into the wrong hands, and you have catastrophic cases, not just in Texas like Uvalde, but around the country. There are certain folks who just don't need to have guns.
With Uvalde, it took hours before law enforcement stepped in and secured that environment.
Agreed, but the kid never should have had the gun.
So I would have been happy if there would have been a few teachers there packing that went dealt with it. If the cops don't want to come in and deal with the situation, teachers who've been trained to use a weapon and licensed to do so, to have it in school. They want to grab it out of their desk, unlock their desk, grab it, and go deal with the situation. We probably could have saved some lives in that particular case. So you can say that this person shouldn't have had. Okay, fine. You want to do background checks? Fine. You can do them until the sky turns red. But a lot of these weapons are bought legally background checks were done, the waiting period was done, and they still got their hands on the weapons, even though they're mentally off. But having people around who could deal with someone who's mentally off with a weapon is what I prefer, rather than be sitting there with nothing and be at the hand of the person with a gun waiting on law enforcement to come defend you when the damn cops are running away from the scene.
In that case, it was pretty pitiful what we ultimately found out about you.
Yeah, it was very pitiful.
Yeah.
The damn officer on the damn scene, he takes off. I guess he's too close to retirement to get involved with this, which is very sad. So anyway, Tom, I know your position is the gun shouldn't be there, but mine is that every lawful person who's not a ex-con, if you have a right to carry it, you need to carry one. If you need to protect your property,
I would agree with that. I don't believe that loosening the laws is ultimately the best idea, but I believe everybody should have a right to be able to protect and defend their homes.
At least protect your property.
Absolutely. So that we definitely agree on, but unfortunately, there are a lot of bad actors out there, and we'll see where this goes. All right, next story. Interesting, Jimmy. Bill Gates. The founder of Microsoft, has recently stated that he is going to spend the majority of his fortune, 99% or somewhere in the sum of about $200 billion, in Africa. Speaking in Ethiopia recently, he urged Africa's young innovators to think about how to build AI to improve healthcare on the continent. Gates announced last month that he would give away 99% of his fortune when his foundation planned to end operations. I guess this is over the next 20 years. The Trump administration actually has recently cut aid to Africa, including programs to treat patients with HIV/AIDS, raising concerns about the future of healthcare on the continent. In a message to young innovators, the tech billionaire noted that mobile phones had revolutionized banking in Africa and argued that AI should now be used for the continent's benefit. Microsoft is one of the world's largest investors in AI, by the way. The Gates Foundation said it has 3 priorities: ending preventable deaths of mothers and babies, ensuring the next generation grows up without having to suffer from deadly infectious diseases, and lifting millions of people out of poverty. Gates said he was inspired to give away his money by the great investor, one of the greatest investors, if not of all time, Warren Buffett, and as well as other philanthropists. Critics of his foundation say Gates uses its charitable status to avoid taxes and that it has undue influence over the global health care system. I thought it quite interesting that he is going to give away practically,
he's not giving away nothing. This story dates back to the Clintons the first time I heard it, that he was going to give his children, leave them $10 million each, and which $10 million, Tom, wouldn't even pay for the helicopter bill.
No, $200 billion. $200 billion.
No, listen to the story. The story was when he died, he was going to leave each one of his children $10 million.
Okay.
And then the rest of his wealth, he was going to give for Warren Buffett to invest into the Clinton Foundation. One, that was back during the Clinton years. He hadn't given any of that money that he pled. Tom, he didn't give it then. He's not going to give it now. So I don't know when he dies if this is going to happen. But here's what I'm going to tell you. There is no way in the world Bill Gates' children are going to allow their father to give away $200 billion to charity. They will be in court fighting that, saying he was mentally ill and off. That may get cut down to 1%. Donated to charity, and the other 99% passed on. So I guarantee you that's going to be a fight. It will never happen. This is just more smoke about what Africa can expect and what we're going to give you, which amounts to nothing. You haven't given very much so far. The Clinton Foundation haven't given very much. They went to Rwanda, drilled a few wells. Oprah built a little school, which we heard nothing but controversy about that. A lot of the infection diseases, especially COVID, Bill Gates has secretly been tied to. They may have been involved with releasing it because he's a big population control person.
Agreed.
So I'm very skeptical, Tom, till you write the check and I actually see it. Until just like Biden, you promised him $50 billion to Africa and you didn't contribute 50 cents to him during your term. So all this money being pledged and offered, until you write the check, I'm a non-believer because I've been given okie doke so many damn times, believing that money was coming, only for it not to come. And in fact, while I'm on the subject, Tom, when you invite the real estate guys back on the show
next week,
next week, we need to ask them what happened to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and I think there was one other bank involved in the big lawsuit, and they promised that they were going to do no down payments, use your apartment rental as history, credit history. They're going to throw your credit report out the window, do all this money that they were going to put aside for home purchase in several pilot cities. Tom, not one penny of that pledge of money has been offered up. Not one person has been able to buy a home from their apartment rental and no down payment, no closing costs. Not one, Tom, as they say in my old neighborhood of Rochester Park, now one has happened. And yet again, they were able to get out a lot of legal problems with the Department of Justice over unfair predatory lending, blackballing black areas or red zoning black areas, not to give loans or give higher interest rates for certain areas. And Tom, they were able to get out of all that trouble by pledging to do the right thing, and they have yet to do it. And now, we just move on, but make sure when the property brothers come on that we need to make that the first question. What happened to it? Because they talked about it years ago, and it still hadn't happened. It was back doing Biden.
I would suggest this, and we are on the same plane as far as that's concerned. No more bananas in the tailpipe, because the reality of it is I don't really know the history of Europeans doing anything that benefits Africa and
Nothing,
Africans
Tom.
historically, as far back as we can see, going back into the early 15th century.
How about ever?
Yeah. So I can't see that Europeans, including those in the United States, have done anything that has actually been beneficial to the continent or the people in Africa or in the African diaspora globally. And so I would say that I would be pretty skeptical of this too. What have you really done in Africa, even though you've maybe thrown some pennies at them, but what has come back to you and or, of course, to your conglomerate of different organizations? And or if you do write a check of some magnitude, whether it's 200 billion or 1% of that, I mean, who is that really going to help? If I haven't seen it now, I don't believe it's all of a sudden going to start happening.
Well, Tom, I'm embarrassed to say that there are a couple of Scandinavian countries, Denmark being one of them, where they do not have a homeless problem. Everybody in that country has a place to stay. If you can't afford to get your own place, the government will provide you. And this is not like public housing. This is a collaboration between public and private funds to build and make sure there's adequate housing. So I read a housing report from HUD that points out, Tom, that we could wipe out homelessness in this country for $30 billion a year. $30 billion is about what we'll spend on the F-30 fighter program. So we have $7 trillion that we spend every year that the government spends, and we can't set aside $30 billion. $60 billion is what U.S. aid was giving out every year. You're giving away $60 billion a year in U.S. aid, and yet you can't cough up $30 billion to end homelessness. But that just lets you know, Tom, whether they
have no interest in that. They have no interest,
Tom. You're right. So if you don't have an interest in providing housing for your own citizens, what in the hell interest do you have in Africa with taking care of Africans?
Absolutely none in Africa, other than, of course, capturing all the mineral resources in order to
sucking as much wealth out of you as possible. Let me show you how. Listen, this is what it sounds like. That's what they suck the wealth out of Africa. That's what it sounds like, Tom. Set the gold, the natural resources, give you fractions of pennies on the pound, and then sell it for thousands of dollars on the pound. So they give you very little to suck it out. So if you really want to help Africa develop, partner with them. Don't go in and like, okay.
There's never been a partnership, Jimmy.
Never been a partnership, Tom. If we're willing to pay a franchise tax, maybe 1%, 0.5% of what we suck out of the ground, what we assess, and then if you talk about wanting to renegotiate to get more of the pie, then all of a sudden they start raising a fuss. But if you want to go and develop the mines, develop the technology, and then split the profit, Okay, now we can talk.
But it never happens, Jimmy.
Never happens, Tom.
All right, Jimmy. We're at a quarter till, so we have a couple of sports stories that we'd like to get through. First, we've got to take a couple of minutes to congratulate Coco Gauff, who at 21 years old just defeated Ariana Sabalenka in the French Open women's singles final to claim her second Grand Slam title of her career. Saturday's final between Sabalenka and Gauff, who are respectively ranked number 1 and 2 in the world, was the first Grand Slam women's final to feature the world's top 2 players since 2018. Gauff is the first American champion at the French Open since Serena Williams in 2015. After losing the match to Coco Gauff, though, Aryna Sabalenka said that Gauff won primarily because of Sabalenka's own errors rather than Gauff's strong play. After pushback from social media, in addition to other tennis professionals, she ended up retracting the statements, acknowledging that they were unprofessional, and ultimately apologized to Gauff, though privately. America.
You know what? I do watch tennis, and unforced errors in tennis generally are caused by strong play from your opponent. It's not like they're giving you a weak volley, a weak serve, and then somehow you just have a unforced error. That's not the case. Normally, the player makes a really strong play that you can't get to force the error. So there are a few that every now and then are unforced that are just your mistake, bonehead, bad hit when you had good contact on the ball. But most of the time, unforced errors are caused by strong play from your opponent.
Yeah, this was kind of a myth to me. I don't watch a lot of tennis, but I did see this, and I saw some of the highlights of it. You know, she looked to be a number 1 player, so-called ranked in the world. I mean, this was, I guess, what some people call a B move, and no pun intended. But, you know, if you lose, if you get your butt whooped, you know, just accept it, suck it up, and say, you know what, I've got to get better, I've got to do better, and you give your grace and be a gracious winner just as you are a gracious loser. And in this case, unfortunately, it didn't work out to Sabalenka, but hopefully she has learned something from this, but not spending too much time on this. You know, Coco Gauff has been slowly building her reputation.
Yes,
and, you know, I think this is her second Grand Slam.
Yes, she won the U.S. Open a couple of years ago. And, Tom, it is not easy to play on that clay.
No.
You can't. You're sliding all over the place. I mean, it's really a different beast than a tennis court where you have some grip and you can stop on a dime and change direction. Man, you go to stop on that clay, you slide a foot or two before you come to a stop. So it's not easy, Tom, to master clay. So, which is generally why a lot of even top players, you know, if you win the French Open, you've done something.
So congratulations again to Coco Gauff. We wish her the best of luck through the rest of this year. And of course, you know, you got to get out there and do it. It is a grind. And then part of it is just staying healthy too, Jimmy.
Yes.
All right. Our next story, Jimmy, I think by the time we meet next week, this will be over. The NBA Finals, Game 5, I guess, is tomorrow between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are up 3-2 after their win this past Monday, Jimmy. And I think this next game is going to be in Indiana. It is turning out to be an interesting series.
So here's the thing, Tom, is that I had started noticing the way the refs were calling the game. And it wasn't just me. A lot of other people started to notice. And, of course, as soon as they notice any disparity, they're going to accuse the league of trying to rig the series for Oklahoma. But here's the thing, is that when you have home court, any 50-50 ball call, where it can go either way, 60% of them should go to the team that's playing at home. That's just what the home court advantage is. You know, you can say, well, it's not fair. You came to call the game equally, but it's just not humanly possible to do that with the crowd involved. But here's the thing. People have noticed that Oklahoma was getting 60% of the calls, whether they were at home or on the road. And that somehow, I think it came to a head because Rick Carlisle, got a technical foul for bringing up some of the hard blows his team was taking and not getting the calls. But Game 5, Doris Burke, I think is her name, Tom, I'm not sure who she is, but every championship that ABC is involved with, be it college football, college basketball, the NFL, it doesn't matter. Whatever championship the ABC is involved with, she's there. And she made it a point to try to clean up the disparity in the foul calls and the push-offs that SGA has been getting away with getting separation. Now, in Game 5, I will give the refs credit. SGA only pushed off, had about maybe 4 times they had a little bit of a push-off. But for the most part, he was not using that off form to push off. And I think Oklahoma got more fouls called against them in Game 5 than ever before.
And still won.
It's still, huh?
And still won.
Yeah, I mean, they you can't say that the refs influenced that particular game because that's about as fair as they can call it. For in the home team, Indiana did get the bulk of the 50-50 calls. They did get a lot of calls go their way, so they got the home field advantage. But they still lost. And SGA did not push off all game long. He had like maybe 4 times that he had maybe a slight push off. But I think secretly or the league is listening to people complain about SGA. This is why I think he may tarnish his image as that he may not become a superstar in the sense of a Jordan or
LeBron
Johnson or LeBron. Because if you're allowed to push off to get separation, and that's how you score, some people see that as an unfair advantage. And if the refs are just not going to call it against you, then are you truly one of the greats ever if that's how you have to get points? So I hope for his sake, because he's a great scorer and a great talent, even without the push-off. He can still score over people and a great shooter without it. So I would hope that maybe going forward that he cleans that up because more and more attention is going to be brought to it, to the push-off. So him and Williams are the go-to guys for the team. Just continue to be the 2 go-to guys.
I would agree, Jimmy. And what are your thoughts on Game 6? And will it be a 6 or 7 game series?
Yeah, I think we're going to see if Rick Carlisle, Tom, is really a great coach. Because here's my assessment. If you look at the stats, I think Indiana won shooting percentage. They won 3 points. They won field goals made and even free throws. What they lost was to the basket scoring, and that was on Williams. And then, of course, SGA getting 30 points a game. Here's what I noticed is that Oklahoma, when you dribble near the corner and stop your dribble, they don't mind coming with the hard press or the double team at that point. Except Indiana doesn't do that. When the shot clock is running out, 5 seconds left on the shot clock, that's when you need to bring the double on both Williams and SGA. Make somebody else on that team besides those 2, but Williams is a great penetrator to the basket. Do not leave him one-on-one with 5 seconds left. How many times have he just picked his dribble up, headed to the basket, scored a layup or made a layup and a foul? And then SGA the same way. You got to bring the double at that point, make them give the ball up, make some other yokel on that team come up with a shot with the shot clock shooting out and they're panicking. So we'll see if Rick Carlisle makes the adjustment or not. If he doesn't, then he's not as great as coach as I thought, and he didn't put his team in the best position, and Oklahoma deserved the win. But Oklahoma will trap you on that sideline as soon as you pick your dribble up. And then as you try to go to pass the ball to someone you think is open, they play the passing lanes. So they get a lot of turnovers. And you cannot win, even though you have better stats all game long, turning the ball over 22 times. And Indiana averages over 20 turnovers a game. So you're not going to be able to get it done averaging that many turnovers.
I would say this. I think it's going to come down to a couple of factors for me. What is going to be the condition of Tyrese Halliburton coming into Game 6? Because, the game usually runs through him, Jimmy, and if he is still hampered by this calf issue that he had in Game 5, it's going to be a hard press for them to get through Game 6. He doesn't have to score a ton of points, but he does need to be effective in order for them.
Tom, come on.
Can you let me finish?
Tom, come on. Go ahead. But Tom, come on, you're making excuses for him.
I'm not making excuses for him. What I'm telling you is this. They're not going to get through a game 6 if Tyrese Halliburton is not productive, if he is not efficient. Again, he does not have to have a ton of points. He does not have to be a 30-point scorer. But the reality of it is, in these games that he has won, he has been very efficient, regardless of him scoring 20-something points or him maybe scoring 10 or 15. Because when you look at his assists and you look at how he makes other people setting them up for the right shot, Tyrese Halliburton makes a difference. All I'm saying is part of game 6 is going to depend on how efficient he is. And then Naismith, if he's nailing those 3-pointers, which he had, to me, an off game in game 5, he's been keeping them in the game, in the games that they've won with those 3-pointers. But otherwise, those are my 2 X factors. I think if they're both on point, Indiana wins. If not, it's Oklahoma.
Tom, you've been very nice. Off game, 0 baskets, 2-3 free throws, a bunch of turnovers. He may have had a couple of assists.
Who are we talking about right now?
Halliburton.
Halliburton, right? Okay.
But his assist to turnover ratio for game 5 is terrible.
Oh, I know that. I know that. That was my point. I was talking about in the games that they won, Jimmy.
But here's the thing, Tom. If you can't play, sit your ass on the bench. Watch the game, put some street clothes on. Don't even go out there because you're hurting your team chances of winning. Indiana, basically their bench had to make up the production that Halliburton didn't provide. If that's the case, anybody you put in to replace him, what's the kid with 0-0? Put him in to run the point. It can't be any worse than what Halliburton, 0 baskets, Tom, 2-3 free throws, and your assist to turnover rate. He had a bunch of turnovers. A lot of that 22 turnovers, a lot of that was on him. He did not help the team.
Agreed.
So if you really can't go, you're not doing the brave thing. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to play despite the injury. Man, sit your ass on the bench. Let somebody else play who's up and coming, who can at least contribute something that you can contribute. Anything that I think that kid number 0 is kind of streaky. It depends on his playing time. But put anybody in that can contribute something, Tom, other than because all he did was help his team lose. And if he goes back in and have another one of those performances, yeah, you're going to be watching Oklahoma lift up that championship trophy on your home court, which is going to be embarrassing.
If Naismith and Halliburton are effective, Indiana wins. If not, Oklahoma goes with the championship on Indiana's court. That's all I'm saying.
We'll see if Rick Carlisle makes the adjustment, start trapping more with the shot clock running down. Don't let SGA and Williams have clear path to the basket, shooting layups with 1 second left on the shot clock. If they get the ball with 5 on the clock, send the double team to force it out of their hand. And you don't have to worry about 2 damn players. The rest of those yahoos are not doing very much. Holmgren may do a little bit, but Holmgren is not killing you. SGA and Williams are killing you.
Correct. I'd agree. All right, Jimmy, we'll keep this very brief. Last story. Just found out today the Buss family is entering into an agreement to sell their majority stake in the Los Angeles Lakers to Mark Walter for approximately $10 billion.
Wow.
The most ever for a U.S. professional sports franchise. The Buss family will keep a minority stake share of the team, just over 15%. Jeannie Buss will continue to serve as the Lakers governor. Mark Walter, the CEO and chairman of holding company TWG Global, has interest in multiple professional sports organizations, including the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Sparks, the Billie Jean Cup Cadillac Formula One team, and the Professional Women's Hockey League. I did not know there was a Professional Women's Hockey League.
Yes.
Interesting story, Jimmy.
Well, Tom, that's been the pattern so far, is that a lot of people, but look at Mark Cuban. Sold a majority stake, kept a minority stake. He was supposed to continue to run the team, and we saw that worked out with the Luka trade. That he said he didn't even know what was going on. So team owners are doing this, selling their stakes, keeping a minority stake, and then a lot of these companies, corporations, are buying stakes in other teams. It's not uncommon for a basketball team owner to also own a share of a football team, a hockey team, a baseball team. So they seem to be spreading the wealth around. And some of the people selling their stakes in these teams have been doing the same, buying minority stakes in other sports franchises and spreading it out. So rather than be the majority owner in just one team, be a minority owner in some position in 4 or 5 teams, even pickleball.
Gotcha. Well, at the end of the day, they have gotten a heck of a return on their investment.
$10 billion. Ooh.
Yeah, a heck of a return on their investment. They're going out and finding an undervalued asset and seeing if they can grow that. So those are the fundamentals of building wealth, folks. So there you have it. It's 9 o'clock. We have gotten through all of our stories, folks. We hope you have enjoyed this show. Make sure you share this information with other folks that you think would benefit from it. Any closing words, Jimmy?
Yes, Tom. Once again, I want to give you a shout out, man, for being one of the best news directors out there, man, on social media. I was going to say that we're definitely not the Breakfast Club, and there have been a couple of other young brothers coming up, man, that I try to subscribe to and support until they either ghost me or catfish, whatever the term is. But they'll give you a sensational title, and then you come to find out you watch the show, and their title doesn't match anything that you thought it was. They just got a catfish. But I'm going to say that the show titles that we put out, Tom, that you put out, are accurate 100%. So whatever the title is of the show, you can believe that's what we're talking about. So
all right,
great
folks.
job.
All right. Thank you very much, my good friend. And we appreciate, of course, everyone who's watching this show. Continue to support us. And we'll see you back next week where we will have our real estate experts to talk about what's going on in that market. So make sure you invite your friends. And, of course, every Wednesday night,
Black Men Speak.
good night, everyone.